Oops. Good morning and welcome to today's Wyoming Community Program Navigator Program webinar. I've been doing this so long, you'd think I'd know that by now. We're so happy that you've joined us today. My name is Mandy Bailey and I'm the Advising and Education Director here with the Wyoming Community Navigator Program. I'll be your facilitator today, working behind the scenes with any technical issues we may have and posting helpful information in the chat, so make sure you monitor that as well. Just to give you a little bit of information about the Wyoming Community Navigator Program, the Wyoming Community Navigator Program is funded through the U.S. Small Business Administration and utilizes the Wyoming Entrepreneurial Support Network to reduce barriers that all small businesses often face, including those owned by groups such as veterans, women, those from rural communities, and communities of color. We do this through a hub and spoke model, and we collectively pursue our goals through training, access to capital, and access to other resources to help small business owners build resiliency and ultimately be the driving force behind Wyoming's economic recovery. Today, we are going to hear from the wonderful Tanya Harrison, and Tanya is the founder and CEO of Signal Partners. So we are going to turn it over to Tanya today.
Hello and welcome. I am going to share. All right, welcome everyone. And today we are going to be talking about metrics and using them in your business. So this can be a dry topic at times, but hopefully you won't find it to be dry. I'm going to give you information so that you can integrate this easily within your business and really start reaping some of the benefits. Mandy mentioned, my name is Tanya Harrison. I'm an operations and leadership consultant. This is something that I have done for a while. I really enjoy operations because you can really get to know your business when you dig deep into operations, and I enjoy developing efficiencies within business. The workshop objective for today. So we are going to provide you with an understanding all about what metrics are and KPIs are. Key performance indicators, that's KPIs. And then I want to share with you some ways that you can easily and effectively integrate them into your business. Once you really start to integrate metrics and KPIs in your business, you are definitely going to see an overall improvement in your business performance. And this could be by way of productivity and profits. So they are not excluded by some of the things that you're going to really reap from using metrics and KPIs within your business. So with metrics and KPIs, they are kind of like going on a road trip. Most of us, I don't know anyone that would take a trip without really knowing where they're going or how they're going to get there. And although today, right, these things it's really easy to figure this out because we have navigation systems within our cars, we have maps on our phones and things like that. And even back in the day, we had ways of really knowing how to get somewhere, right? So I'm definitely probably dating myself, but there was a time when I used MapQuest. You go to the computer, put in where you are, put in your destination, and then it would show you how to get there. Or in some instances before that, we actually had the hard copy map that you could get out of the gas station. Either way, we had a way of knowing where we were and how to get to where it was that we want to go. Metrics and key performance indicators are a part of the system that will help you get there. And it is a way to basically help you shortcut how to get there. So the more data you use that is relevant. So let me say that again, the more relevant data that you track within your business, it is going to help you to determine how to get to where it is that you want to go in the shortest period of time. So it really is a part of the entire system that's going to help you. Now, if you feel like sharing, I'd like to know what type of businesses you have. And if you want to do it in a broad way of saying whether it's products or services, or digital, you can say it that way, or tell me exactly what it is that you do. Because as I go through this presentation, I'd really like to share with you examples that are relevant and applicable to your business so that you can easily see how you could integrate this into your business. So anybody that wants to share, you can drop that information in the chat and I'll be checking it. And then also the handbook has been dropped in the chat, so you could open that up and follow along using that as well. What gets measured gets done. And that is really because it gets our focus. There's so much going on in our business, and just being a small business owner, you know, there's a lot to do and we don't have a lot of resources. We definitely want to make sure that we are doing what we need to do, and not doing things that's not going to yield the results that we're looking for. So we want to make sure our focus is streamlined. And one of the ways that we could do that is simply by measuring some of the things that is going on within our business. Before we really dig in and get started, I want to let you know that if you have any questions along the way, you can drop them in the chat or you can use the Q&A feature. I want to make sure that I am not skipping over something that you may need clarification on or additional information about. Feel free to use the chat or the Q&A so that I can answer your questions and make sure that we are all on the same page. Let's talk about the difference between metrics and KPIs. Both are quantifiable, both are, measurements, but the metric, it is a measurement that's tracking activity. Think about the health of your business. What are some of those things that you may want to track to get a good idea about what's going on in your business? It could be, for those of you that are online and digital, it could be the visits to your website. You know what I mean? Think about things like that you could track. Delivery time, all of those things could be a metric. What makes the difference, like what makes a KPI, a key performance indicator, is the fact that it is going to track performance in relation to a goal. So now I have a goal and I'm tracking where I am in relation to that specific goal. And if you really want to add some fire to it, that's when you're going to track KPIs. So that's going to help you build up the momentum to know, am I on track to achieving this goal or not? The other ones, metrics, are just as important because they are going to let you know the health of your overall business. There's a lot of benefits when it actually comes to using metrics within your business. But I'm talking about the ones that I see on a regular basis and the ones that my clients have really have seen as a benefit. The first thing is it measures performance, right? So this is something that we want to know. How is our business performing? This is something that every CEO wants to know, but it helps you to set realistic goals. I don't know how many of you have done a business plan, which is a really great idea, but when you first start out in business, it can be really difficult because you may not have a lot of data. So we go when we do research based on our industry and what's going on, and things like that. So we try to get a really great idea, but we don't have data that's specific to our business. As you start to use metrics, now you're going to be more realistic in terms of the goals that you set, because now you have information that you can use to set those goals. It also helps with decision making. If I'm tracking data on a regular basis and I'm tracking the right data on the regular basis, it's going to help me make decisions, whether I need to continue doing something, stop doing something, or make some adjustments. So you'll know that early on if you are using the information. You'll also be alerted by problems ahead of time. So again, you have to be tracking it on a regular basis in order to be alerted, but you'll know ahead of time, hey, this isn't working. I may need to make an adjustment. And the last thing, which probably should be the first thing, is it builds confidence as a CEO. A lot of people don't have the confidence that they could have because they are not in tune with their business. When you get in tune with your business and you know what's going on, there's like an air of confidence just comes about because you know what you know, what you know. And this is one of the benefits that a lot of people say, like, oh, I feel more confident about what I'm doing, because I'm making decisions. You're making decisions that's based on data. Let's talk about the characteristics of a powerful metric, right? Because, if you go out online and you look up metrics, they're going to give you some things that you need to track. But we want to make sure that they have some characteristics that are listed here. Number one, they need to be aligned and meaningful, right? So your friend may be tracking one thing that may be something that's not relevant to you and your industry. So you want to make sure it's aligned and meaningful for you and your business. You definitely want to make sure they are simple and easy to understand. Now, this is extremely important because if we start to get really complex, a lot of times people abandon ship. They're just like, it's too much. I'm not doing it. I'll continue throwing spaghetti at the wall to figure it out. And we don't want to do that. So we want to make sure they are simple and easy to understand. So you're going to see that when we really dig in and I start giving you examples, they're straightforward. This is what I want to accomplish. This is what I'm going to track, type of thing. They need to be actionable. I'm measuring them because it has to be something that I want to take action on, or I can take action on. You want them to be implementable, meaning that it has to be something that you can implement and integrate within your business. When we first start out, the goal is to start using things that are extremely relevant to you, and you will start to expand, right? As you learn more about your business, you'll start to expand the things that you measure. But in the beginning, you don't want to overwhelm yourself. So you want it to be something that's implementable, and you want it to be something that's timely. And this is why I talk about measuring on a regular basis, because we don't want to wait till the end of the quarter to realize that we didn't meet our quarterly goals and objectives because we weren't measuring things on a timely basis. Before we get into this, are there any questions? If you have any questions, make sure you drop them. Again, I want to make sure that the information is coming across clear. So I want to talk briefly about lead versus lag measures. And this is something that we want to know, because when we are developing our metrics, you want to make sure that you include both. Now, many people will track financial, right? I want to make $10,000 a month, right? So that is something that a lot of people easily track, and that's a lag measure. But we want to make sure that we are tracking things that that is predictive and that we can influence, right? So a lag measure tracks if you hit a goal or not. I want to make $10,000 a month. At the beginning of the next month, I'm gonna look back and I'm gonna say, yes, I made it. No, I didn't make it. So basically, it's going to answer the question, did we hit our monthly revenue goal or not? Now, a lead measure, these are ones that are easily influenced, right? So they let you know the likelihood of achieving a goal. So it is going to tell the story and answer the question, am I on track for hitting the monthly goal? Those are two very distinct differences. One is, did I hit it? And the other one is, am I on track to hit it? And you need and want both when we're talking about metrics, right? Because if I want to hit a goal, I want to know ahead of time if I'm on track or not, because there are things that I can do in order to make sure I hit the goal. So I want to increase the likelihood of achieving whatever it is that I want to achieve. That is the biggest difference between lead and lag. So an example would be, like I said, we want to make $10,000 per month. That's the lag metric. An example would be, a key driver is discovery calls. So what I'm thinking about in this scenario, right? This could be a business that is, let's say, for instance, a service-based business. I don't know if we have service-based businesses on the call, but this could be a service-based business. And a part of the process is that they meet with people and they do a discovery call. And then from the discovery call, they are going to either close the deal or not close the deal, right? So a part of the process is right there on the discovery call, I'm trying to get a yes or a no. Let's say that the average client spends $2,000, right? So if the average client spends $2,000, this is the only service that I'm talking about, and my goal is $10,000, that means that I need 5 clients per month to say yes. So I need 5 people to say yes every single month in order for me to meet my goal. And my close rate is 50%. So half of the people that I talk to are going to say yes. That is something I know because that's something that I've been tracking, right? This is the example. Basically, I need 10 discovery calls per month in order to meet the goal. So if I'm getting 10 discovery calls per month and I'm closing 50% and the average client spends 2,000, then I'm going to meet my goal. So that is why this is more predictive. Now, by tracking it on a weekly basis, which is what I recommend, I know that every single week I need 2 to 3 calls scheduled, and I need to be closing half of them. So if I go through and week 1, I didn't schedule any calls, or I only scheduled 1 call, I know there are some things that I need to do in order to get more calls on the book so that I have a better chance of achieving my goal. So that's basically what the lead measure does. It lets you know the likelihood of you being able to achieve the goal or not. So let's think about this, right? For those of you that are on the call, and it's up to you if you want to share or not, think about what would be a lead measure in your business or a lag measure within your business. And this is, again, is going to depend on what type of business you have. So for those of you that are online, digital, you may do more with website visits and conversions and things like that. So take a minute and just think about what would be a lead measure and what would be a lag measure. And again, if you want to share, that's totally up to you. You can share. I'm going to take a sip of water. Okay. So when you're starting out with implementing this into your business, it can be difficult to know what to start. Like, what am I going to measure? There's so many things that that you could measure, right? So I want to walk you through a couple of ways you can decide what it is that you want to measure within your business. And the goal is to get you to measure the things that are pressing and relevant, not everything. Because when I tell you you could have hundreds of things that you can measure, you can literally have like hundreds of things to measure. And that's not what we want, right? So we want to really take a step back and think about what are the things that we really need to measure. I look at business within these 5 pillars, right? So these are the 5 key business pillars. When you're thinking about what you're going to measure, even when you're thinking about goal setting, these are some of the areas that you want to look at. Financial stability and growth. This is the one that a lot of people look at, right? So I want to make X amount of dollars a year or a month. I want to reduce my expenses. So this is usually the one that people talk about the most. I know what my profit margin I want, like, so it's um, more people talk about it. So you may be aware of that more. But the next area is operational excellence. So this is where you are really trying to develop efficiencies within your business. So there's things that you want to make sure that you are measuring in this area. And this could be anything from the time from when someone orders to the time I ship, so my time to feel, that could be something that I'm measuring. I could be measuring if I am a service-based provider. I could be measuring the length of time that it takes for me to deliver or complete a project. So all of these things fall under operational excellence, and those are just examples of things that you could measure. If you look in the handbook, you're going to see that towards the back of the handbook, I give you some examples just to kind of get you going, to get the juices flowing. Like, oh yeah, this is something I can measure. This is something I can measure that's applicable to my business. And again, if you want to drop your business in the chat, feel free to do that. But you'll get some examples from the handbook. The next one is customer value. So these are the things that directly impact your customer that you may want to measure. You want to really get an idea of what your customer thinks about the service or the product. This may be a survey. You may want to send out surveys and you have a rating of 1 to 5 and you have people rate you. So you are going to be measuring what your rating is. And you may want to measure testimonials. How many testimonials do you get on a regular basis? Think about your customer and how you can find out what the value that you bring to them, because these are things that you definitely want to make sure that you are not just measuring, that you are acting on whenever you need to act on it. The worst thing to do is to have clients that are not happy and don't share that information. Now, sending out a survey or requesting a testimonial doesn't always mean that people are going to respond, but it opens the door to have the conversation. And at least it lets them know that you care about how they feel about the product or the service that you've provided. The next one is sales and marketing. This is another one that people talk about a lot. So you probably have things that you want to measure around that. If you're online, you may want to measure, your the analytics of the platform that you use. So if you're on Instagram, Instagram has, you know, um, Instagram has different, analytics, how many likes, how many shares, but more importantly, how many people actually signed up for your newsletter from Instagram, how many people hit your website from Instagram. So sales and marketing is an area that you definitely want to make sure that you take a look at and that you are setting up some metrics that's going to help you tell the full story. And then the last one is professional growth and team. This is the one that we want to make sure that as small business owners that we are continuing to grow, that our team is continuing to grow, making sure that that, as we onboard people, into our business, that we are doing it in a way that is as seamless as possible. So getting feedback regarding that could be something that you may want to consider. Again, if you look in the handbook, you're going to find some examples of different things that you can measure for each one of these categories. But looking at your business from a high level and just kind of getting an idea of these are the things that I want to measure in each of the specific areas, so I get an understanding of the health of my business. Another thing you could do when it comes to metrics and deciding what you want to measure is consider what your vision is. Where do you see your business in the next 3 to 5 years? And what are some of those key drivers that you need to implement or measure in order to let you know if you're on track to achieving some of the goals that you've set? Also, business standards is a good place to start. You may want to have specific standards, right? So if you know that um, accuracy is something that you are really, really, big on, like you focus on excellence when it comes to delivering products and services to your customer, you may want to have business standards. This could be something, as simple as, when you order with us, all orders are shipped within 2 business days, or 98% of all orders are shipped within 2 business days. Or, from the time you submit, if I'm a website designer, from the time that, someone submits all of their information, you will have a completed website to you within 7 business days. These are business standards. They're specific to your business. And you could think of, when you're thinking about them, I always think about Domino's. And I might be dating myself, but Domino's used to have where they would deliver the pizza in 30 minutes or less. And this was like a standard, a business standard that they had before things kind of went haywire and they had a lawsuit. But it was something that they actually implemented, and people knew about it, and it helped help them get additional customers and everything. But it was something that they implemented. So just think about, from a business perspective, what could be a standard that you set. The other one I've talked about or mentioned a couple of times is business health. What are the things that I can measure to let me know how my business is performing overall? That's the business health, where I know that as long as I'm within this range, we are doing good. We're okay. Industry. Depending on what industry you're in, there's going to be specific things that you may want to measure. So for instance, I have a healthcare background and I worked for a district. So part of it was a hospital, so we would measure length of stays, the average length of stay, how many open beds, and things like that. So that was like based on the industry. We would, everybody that was in that industry were measuring something similar. So you may want to go out and do some research to find out in your industry what are some of those things that people are measuring and which ones you could use that are relevant to your business. The last one is goals and objectives. So when we're talking about KPIs, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a minute, these are going to be related specifically to your goals and objectives. So what is your goal for the year? And what is it that you're trying to achieve? I want to make sure that I am measuring things that's going to let me know if I'm on track or not. So this is a snapshot from the example that's in your workbook, but you can get the full list of additional examples. So KPIs, key performance indicators. Now, metrics are really great, period, but key performance indicators, or KPIs, these are the game changers, because these are the ones that are going to let us know if we're on track to achieving our goal. So if you have a yearly goal and you've broken it down by quarter, month, however you do your goal planning, these are going to be the things that's going to let you know if you're on track or not. They require your undivided attention. And this is why most people will tell you not to have a whole lot of goals and not to have a whole lot of KPIs, especially if you are a small business owner or a micro business owner, which I work a lot with micro business owners. So there's not a lot of resources. We want to make sure that we are focusing on the things that is going to move the needle in the business, and that is going to require us to shrink our focus. But when you do that, you're able to not just focus more, but you're able to propel the business and move the needle within the business quicker because I'm not spread too thin. KPIs determines if your strategy is working or not. So you may have if you're online, you may have a content strategy or, whatever the case may be. By tracking the right things, you are going to be able to see if it's working or not. And if you need to make adjustments, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to throw out the entire strategy. It may just mean that you need to make tweaks along the way. They'll help you identify some of the things that you want to change. And the last one is helps you make better decisions, right? So it all ties in together. So again, the KPIs align with your goal. So what are your business goals? You want to consider what that is. So before defining your KPIs, you have to define what your goal is. So I give you an example, right? So say I have a goal where I want to get 600 new email subscribers by the end of 2023. When I'm structuring my goals, we know that we want to make them as specific as possible. So 600 new email subscribers by the end of 2023. So here's a couple of things that your KPIs should include. Right now that I know my goal, my KPI is going to include what would you like to measure? I am going to measure subscribers. What is my target? Right? What would you like to achieve? I would like to achieve 600 subscribers by the end of the year. If I started this at the beginning of the year, that would be 50 per month. So every month I should be adding 50 subscribers to my email list. Data sources. I need to know where the data is going to come from. This is really important because a lot of times we'll say we're going to measure something, but we have no way of getting that data. So you need to understand where the data is going to come from. In this instance, I'm going to take the data from my email marketing software. I use MailerLite. MailerLite tells me on a monthly basis how many people have been added to my email list. Excuse me. So that would be where my data would be coming from. So it would likely be your email marketing software. Frequency. How often are you going to report on this data? And the more frequently you report, the better, because it gives you an opportunity to make some adjustments. It gives you an opportunity to influence it. So here I put monthly, but again, in most cases, I recommend that you track most things on a weekly basis. And then the owner, who is the owner? Who is going to be doing it? So if I'm in business by myself, it's just me, nobody else, then that's pretty easy, right? It's me. But if I have other people, maybe I have a marketing assistant or a virtual assistant, they could go in and they can pull this data down. And then the only thing I have to do is assess it as the CEO. So depending on how your team is structured, how many people you have on your team, that is going to determine who the owner is. But these are the different elements that you want to make sure that you have within when you are structuring your KPIs. Let's talk a little bit more about data sources, just to give you some more examples, depending on what it is that you are thinking about tracking. So one of the data sources you could use is your accounting software. Say, for instance, you want to track your revenue goal. You could use your accounting software. The biggest thing about your data sources is making sure it is comprehensive and it has all the information, right? If I am going to use my accounting software, whether it's QuickBooks, Xero, Wave Apps, whatever it is, I need to make sure all of the data is flowing into this software. Meaning if I'm getting Stripe payments, that information is flowing in there along with the service fees that Stripe charges. If I'm using PayPal, that information needs to be flowing in there. Or if I'm getting a check directly to my bank account, all of this information needs to be flowing into my accounting software in order for me to say that I'm going to use it, because now I know that it's comprehensive. If I find that I don't have all of the data flowing from there, I may have more than one data point in order to achieve the goal, right? So, where, if I'm tracking revenue, it may be easy to say, okay, I'm going to retrieve this information from my bank account because everything goes in there. But then when it gets to my expenses, right, I'm not seeing the cost that the service fee that Stripe or PayPal charges in my bank account. So I'm either going to have to go to that actual source, Stripe or PayPal, or like I said in the beginning, you're going to make sure everything is coming into your accounting software. Another example of a data source would be Google Analytics. I use this a lot, and you can track website traffic, conversions, and a lot of other stuff within Google Analytics, right? So if I want to know, where people are coming from, how many people are coming from, like visiting my site from the different sources, I could really do that within Google Analytics. Now, are there some things that I need to do before and after? Yeah, there are, right? So I may want to set up different links. So I know that this link is for when I'm doing campaigns, this link is for Instagram, this link is for Facebook, this one is for LinkedIn to give me cleaner data. But as long as I do the prep work, I could use Google Analytics as a source. And there are analytical tools. I'm not going to get deep into, all the tools that are out there, but there are analytical tools that could pull some of this data. Or like I said, you could just use Google Analytics. Another data source that you'd probably be using is email marketing, which you could get your number of subscribers, your conversion rate, your engagement, and all of those things. So hopefully those of you that are on the call, you're using email marketing. For our small business owners, it is definitely a platform that we want to make sure that we are using for a couple of different reasons, not only for additional revenue, but for getting to know our customers and being able to engage with potential customers. The last one I have on the screen is social media. So with social media, you can track your follower stats, like your likes and things like that. What I like about using the analytics from social media is that I could see the content that my audience is really enjoying, right? And when I say enjoying, I'm going beyond, for me, I go beyond the likes because I need to know, are you clicking a link and going to my website? Are you actually taking the action that I want you to take? This could be downloading a free resource that I have or something like that. So you definitely want to make sure that you are using the analytics and that you are reviewing them. But again, this can be overwhelming. So the objective is to make sure that you are focusing on the things that are really relevant to where you are and what it is that you are trying to achieve within your business. So when we are talking about KPIs and metrics, I read a quote that said that we are 2 times more likely to hit our goals if they are tracked weekly. So it's time to track. So for those of you that are on the call, just let me know, like, if you are you tracking, if you are using metrics and KPIs within your business, are you tracking any of those things right now? And if so, how's it going? So this is something that is also in your handout, in the handout that was dropped in there, which I'm going to pull up in a minute. But this right here is a tracking tool that the one that you have is not filled out, but this is a tracking tool that you could use to start tracking. Now, this is the PDF, so you'll have to print it out and write on it. But the one that I use is a Google Analytics tool. So, you can type it in every single week. You can type in the information. You'll see that it has some of the information that we've talked about. Now, at the top, I have the goal, because what I recommend is that in the beginning, if you haven't really gotten into goal setting, that you set one really big goal for the year. And that's what you're going to focus on. And we're going to write it up here. So every time when we are tracking, we are focused on the goal. And here is the month, of course. But down here to the side, you're going to see that these are the 5 pillars that I mentioned, the 5 business pillars that I mentioned earlier: the financial stability and growth, operational excellence, customer value, sales and marketing, professional growth, and team. So as you look across your business, again, you're going to be thinking about your different metrics and KPIs that you want to use. And the KPIs, again, will come from your goals. But you want to make sure that you're looking across your entire business and trying to see what it is that you want to measure. And then in this column right here, you're going to put what your metric is. So if you remember on the other screen, when I was showing you, there's certain elements that you want to have to make sure that you have when you are determining your metrics. So what am I measuring? So in this one, for the first one, financial stability and growth, I am going to measure my revenue. What is my unit of measure? So exactly what unit am I measuring, right? So you'll see that these are different. These all differ. Like down here for sales and marketing, when I'm talking about website traffic, I'm going to be measuring the visitors that are coming to my website. When I'm doing the customer value and I'm sending out the survey, I'm actually going to be using the measure, right? So did they rate me as a 5 or a 2, whatever that is. And then this column right here is the source. So this is where the data is coming from. So we spent a little bit of time on talking about that, but you're going to plug this in here, right? So there's no mix up. If you have a team, just in case it's not just you doing this, if you have a team, everybody understands where the information is coming from. And then this way, it's not where if one person does it this week and somebody else does it this week, the information looks different, right? No, it's going to be consistent, because we've already said, this is what we're measuring. This is where it's coming from. And everybody is aligned and on the same page. Because the worst thing that you want to do, or the worst thing that could happen is that when one person is filling in this information, they're getting the information from one place where somebody else is getting it from somewhere else, and they don't match. So we want to be really careful with that. So again, that is where the data is coming from. So you'll see these differ. If you sell products, Shopify has some really great reports that you could dig into, where you don't have to do a lot of math and stuff. They already have it figured out for you. So you just really need to dig in and start doing it. And even with your accounting software, they have like some straightforward information that could help you as well. If you are going to do survey ratings, I put here Survey Monkey. I do not use Survey Monkey. I have in the past, but now that I've been using Miller Lite for a couple of years, and they actually have a survey that you can send out to people. So I use my email marketing platform to kind of do that. And it's more of an automated process to make sure that when I'm completing the projects that, there's an automated email that goes out. Um, this, I have to be honest, like for a long time, this is something that I just wasn't great at. I wasn't great at asking for testimonials, but I would ask for feedback throughout the project, but I didn't get the testimonial. So I kept in tune with if people were feeling good about it or not feeling good about it. But yeah, so I've gotten better. Um, and then you have for week to week, you have the different weeks. So it goes up to 5 weeks. So each week, you are going to fill in what it is, what your metric is. Like, so, how much money did you make? What was your average rating for the week? So you're going to fill those in. How many visitors did you have for the week? So every single week. And when you are setting this up, you already have your target. So if I want to make $5,000, this month, or $10,000 was our example, I will have that there. And then for the email subscribers, I think I said 600 by the end of the year, 50 a month. You know what I mean? So my monthly target would be 50, and then I would be tracking it every single week. This would let me know if I am on track or not. And if I'm not on track, there's some things that I may want to do to try to put myself out there to get more people on my email list so that I end up hitting that goal, right? So this is your monthly actual, this is your monthly target, and then you have your status. So back in corporate, we used to do this thing where it was red, green, and yellow to let us know, like, if we were green, we were good to go. It was like yellow, it was like, oh, you may not make it. You need to do some stuff. You know what I mean? Or if it's red, that means that we are really behind and we need to step it up. So you can either write something here, or like if you use an Excel spreadsheet, you can flip the color. So that is this spreadsheet, which again is in your handbook, and you could use it whether you have a team or not, you want to set some set some criteria, right? So when does your week start? When does it end? When are you going to track? So I'm tracking every week. For me, I check my stats every Monday. That's the day. No matter what, it's every Monday. So my weekends, and then I track my stats on Monday. I put it on my calendar, so I know to go in and do it. It's not an option, right? So here's a quick think break, just to kind of think about what is, and it doesn't have to be a customer value metric or a sales and marketing metric, but what's one metric that you may not use now, but after hearing this presentation or going through it, what is one thing that you feel that you would start to check, right? So what's one metric that you would implement now? And again, this is, more for you um, than for me. So just kind of think about what it is that you want to implement. So here are some final thoughts. When you are going through, you want to make sure that you hold yourself and your team accountable. It is extremely easy to get started and then to fall off the wagon. It really is. And it happens to all of us. It's not something that, you know, only happens to one person. It's something that happens often. So you really want to make sure that you are developing routines and you are being intentional about what it is that you want to do. For instance, you want to make sure that you schedule time, which is the next one, that you schedule CEO time. So if you have a team and somebody else is going to do it, they're going to have a time when they need to have it to you by, right? So if you're going to track your stats every single week, every single Monday, then that is it. So you need to have the stats Monday by 10 a.m., whatever that time is. But you, as the CEO, you're going to schedule time on your calendar where you're going to go in and you're going to review and assess, right? And I normally recommend people that have teams, I recommend that you hold your team meetings after you check you do your assessment, right? So if you have weekly team meetings, I recommend hosting them, say maybe Tuesday or Monday afternoon, give you an opportunity to review the numbers for the prior week. And then that way you can set the tone and the attention for the coming week, right? So everybody is clear about what our priorities are, what it is that we are trying to accomplish. And a lot of times it's going to be based on the numbers. The last thing is you're going to determine actions required, right? So during this time, when you are sitting there and you are assessing your data, you're going to look and you're going to say, okay, so is this something that I want to keep measuring, right? So you need to, in the beginning, you're going to be measuring things and they may or may not be the exact things that you need to measure. So you may need to do some tweaks, or your goals may change and now you may need to measure different things. So you're going to think, am I going to continue measuring this? Am I going to adjust, right? So either I'm going to adjust the metric that I am measuring, or I'm going to adjust the strategy that I am using, or am I going to retire this metric? I started tracking it. I really don't get a benefit from it. It's not something that I am going to give my time to. So you really want to make sure that you are what I call start, stop, continue, right? So is this something that I'm going to continue doing? Is this something I'm going to stop doing? Is there something else I want to start doing? So, and then after you do your assessment, then like I said, then you meet with your team. You'll set the intentions for the week. And if your team is you, then you set the intentions with you for the week and you go in and start blocking things out on your calendar as to what it is that you're going to do to make things happen. That is it. If anyone has any questions, you can ask me the questions now. This is my contact information. The only other thing I wanted to do was to pull up the handbook, because there are some handouts in the back that you may find useful. Do we have time to do that, Mandy?
Yeah, we do. We have time to do
Okay.
that.
Okay.
I really enjoy this, Tanya, because oftentimes we hear from our small business owners that they spend so much time working in the business that they don't have time to work on the business. And this is intentionally working on the business. So this is very valuable.
Yeah, it definitely is. You know what? It's we have a lot going on. We have a lot going on. So, it has to be intentional.
Right.
Because if we're not intentional about it, it won't happen. I'm trying to find that workbook I thought I had. Here it is.
And could you just say one more time, what is the survey software that you are currently using?
So I use MailerLite and MailerLite is an email marketing platform, but within that, it allows you to send out surveys. So when I initially started doing it, I was using SurveyMonkey, and they have a free version. But for me, I try to minimize as as many platforms as I can, and then when I found that MailerLite actually had something, I was like, okay.
Perfect.
So I use MailerLite. And then I can automate it, right? So, once I'm through with the project, I can automate that email automatically going out. So that helps a lot too.
Yeah.
So this is the handbook, and then it gives you an opportunity to kind of write some things. And those little, think moments that we had. You can write that there. It has the 5 pillars. But here is the metric tracker, without the writing in there that people can use and you can share with your team. There's a metric cheat sheet in here that kind of gives you some ideas of things that you can measure. I even have SOPs in here, right? Because sometimes it's just people are like, I don't have time to do standard operating procedures. Okay, then you put it on there. How many are you gonna do per week? How many are you gonna do per month to get it done? And then the KPI cheat sheet, which talks about some of the things like the characteristics of a KPI. And then in the back, I included some helpful books. So for those of you that are really into this, you will appreciate the 4 disciplines of execution. They talk about lead measures, lag measures. They also focus on, making sure that you are focusing on your, what they refer to as WIGs, wildly important goals. But it really gives you a basis of, when we're talking about metrics. But then one of my favorite books is Essentialism, because again, as a micro business owner, we want to make sure that we're not just saying yes to things that we really shouldn't be saying yes to. We are saying yes to the things that are essential and are going to move us forward. And then Atomic Habits, these are like books like I just love. But they are books that I have found that have helped me in my journey. And then I definitely like sharing them so that others can read and learn as well. Now I'm through.
Perfect. So I have one more question.
Okay.
What would you say would be the key differences when setting your KPIs for someone just in business versus someone who is established?
So when someone that is established, even if you are not tracking your data, you have some data that you can use. So you already have an advantage. So when you are setting those, you can make them even more relevant, right? Because I have some data that I could use versus someone that is just starting out. You're probably going to be using more of the information that you got from research, right? So I researched my industry and here's, what the norms are and things like that. So a lot of it is going to be assumptions in the beginning. Versus I got some real live data that I can use. And this is why I just think it's great that people start as soon as possible with tracking that information. The sooner you start to tracking the information and using it, the easier it's going to be to achieve your goals.
Perfect. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here with us, Tanya. And I'm excited that you are going to be back next week with the 90-day game plan. So we're going to take this information and we're just going to take it one step further. So don't miss that. It is going to be next Friday at 11 o'clock as well. So Tanya, we're looking forward to it.
Thank you. I can't wait.
Thank you. Have a good Friday.
All right. You too.
Bye, everybody.